Welcome to Cyber Explore, your trusted source for breaking down the complex topics shaping our world. Today, we're talking about something that could change your life overnight. Imagine waking up tomorrow to find oil prices have spiked, stock markets are tumbling, and shipping costs are through the roof. This isn't science fiction. It's a real risk tied to a tiny stretch of water called the Strait of Hormuz. This strategic waterway, just 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, sits between Iran and Oman. But don't let its size fool you. It carries a massive 1/5 of the entire world's daily oil consumption. That's why it's often called the most important oil choke point on Earth. In this video, I'll break down 3 critical reasons why the Strait of Hormuz must stay open for the global economy. Then, we'll explore 4 practical solutions the world could use to keep trade flowing, even during a conflict. Let's dive in. The first and most obvious reason is energy security. The Strait of Hormuz is the world's energy lifeline. Every single day, around 20 million barrels of oil pass through this narrow waterway. That's about 20% of all the oil consumed globally. And it's not just oil. The strait is also a superhighway for liquefied natural gas, or LNG, especially from Qatar, one of the world's largest exporters. Who depends on this flow? Major economies like China, India, Japan, South Korea, and much of Europe. For these nations, energy imports are the lifeblood of their industries. If tankers can't get through the Strait of Hormuz, the dominoes start to fall almost immediately. Factories would slow down, electricity bills would soar, and transportation costs would surge. We've seen previews of this before. Even minor disruptions in the oil supply can send markets into a panic. A complete closure of the strait could trigger one of the biggest energy shocks in modern history. Some analysts predict oil prices could easily jump to $150 or even $200 a barrel if the strait were blocked for a long time. And a shock like that doesn't just hit big energy companies, it hits every single one of us. The second reason is the massive impact on global trade and inflation. Energy isn't just for fueling our cars or powering our homes. It's woven into the very fabric of the global economy. Oil and gas are essential for manufacturing, shipping, aviation, and even agriculture. They're used to make plastics, chemicals, and fertilizers for food production. Our entire supply chain runs on it. When energy prices surge, the cost of everything else goes up with them. For example, airlines would have to raise ticket prices. Shipping companies would increase their freight rates. Farmers would pay more for fuel and fertilizer, meaning higher food prices at the grocery store. Factories would face higher production costs, passing that expense onto you, the consumer. In other words, closing the Strait of Hormuz could unleash a huge wave of global inflation. And in today's world, where many economies are already fighting to keep inflation down, a shock of this magnitude could easily push several countries into a recession. The stock markets would likely react with lightning speed. The currencies of energy-importing countries could weaken, and companies that rely on fuel and shipping could see devastating losses. This is why the Strait of Hormuz isn't just an energy choke point, it's a global economic pressure point. The third reason the strait must stay open is the risk of global financial instability. Markets absolutely hate uncertainty. And few things create more uncertainty than a major disruption to the world's energy supply. If the strait were to close because of conflict, financial markets would react instantly. We could see oil and gas prices spike dramatically while global stock markets plummet. The cost of shipping insurance would skyrocket, causing severe delays across supply chains. Central banks would be under immense pressure to control the resulting inflation. But the effects could run even deeper. Energy importing countries, especially developing economies, would struggle to pay their higher import bills. Some could face a balance of payments crisis or even default on their debt. Nations that are heavily reliant on Middle Eastern energy could experience sudden and severe economic slowdowns. Meanwhile, governments might be forced to tap into their strategic oil reserves, introduce fuel subsidies, or roll out emergency economic measures. All of this creates extreme volatility, not just in energy markets, but across the entire global financial system. Simply put, a prolonged disruption in the Strait of Hormuz wouldn't be a regional problem. It would quickly become a full-blown global economic crisis. So, here's the big question. If conflict does break out in the region, what can be done to prevent the Strait of Hormuz from shutting down? There are several potential options, so let's explore the most realistic ones. First up is international naval protection. One of the most direct ways to keep the strait open is through naval patrols. Major powers like the United States, European nations, and their regional allies already have naval forces stationed in the Persian Gulf. In a crisis, these forces could escort oil tankers through the strait to ensure their safe passage. This strategy isn't new. It has been used in other parts of the world where piracy or conflict threaten shipping routes. These naval coalitions can provide surveillance, missile defense, and close protection for commercial ships. While this doesn't eliminate the risk completely, it can significantly reduce the chances of successful attacks on tankers. Option number 2 is developing alternative energy transport routes. Another important strategy is building routes that bypass the Strait of Hormuz altogether. Some of these already exist. For example, Saudi Arabia has the East-West pipeline, which can move oil from the Persian Gulf all the way to the Red Sea. The UAE has the Abu Dhabi pipeline, which transports oil to the port of Fujairah, located safely outside the strait. These pipelines allow some oil to avoid the choke point, but their capacity is limited. They can't come close to replacing the massive volume of oil that moves through the strait every day. Over the long term, expanding these existing routes or building new pipelines could help reduce the world's heavy dependence on the Strait of Hormuz. The third option is using strategic petroleum reserves. Many major economies maintain these reserves, which are basically massive emergency stockpiles of oil. Countries like the United States, China, Japan, and members of the International Energy Agency store millions of barrels specifically for crisis situations. If the Strait of Hormuz were disrupted, governments could release oil from these reserves to stabilize markets and prevent immediate shortages. This is a temporary solution, but it provides crucial breathing room while diplomatic or military solutions are pursued. It's like an economic insurance policy, buying valuable time to resolve the underlying crisis. And that brings us to our fourth and perhaps most important long-term solution: diplomatic conflict prevention. The most effective way to keep the strait open is to prevent conflict from happening in the first place. Diplomacy plays a vital role in maintaining stability in the Persian Gulf. Tensions in the region, particularly between Iran, the Gulf Arab states, and global powers, directly impact the security of this waterway. International agreements, consistent dialogue, and active de-escalation efforts are all essential for keeping shipping lanes open and safe. Because at the end of the day, the safest shipping route is one that never becomes a battlefield. The Strait of Hormuz might just look like a narrow strip of water on a map, but its importance to the global economy is impossible to overstate. Every day, enormous volumes of oil and natural gas pass through this tiny passage, fueling our industries, powering our cities, and sustaining economic growth across the entire planet. We've explored 3 major reasons why the strait must remain open. First, it's the world's energy lifeline, carrying about 1/5 of the global oil supply. Second, any disruption would send inflation and global trade costs skyrocketing, impacting nearly every sector of the economy. And third, a prolonged closure could trigger severe financial instability and economic crises worldwide. And while the risk of conflict is always present, we have options to mitigate it, from naval protection and alternative pipelines to strategic reserves, and most importantly, diplomacy. Ultimately, the Strait of Hormuz is more than just a geographic choke point. It's a powerful reminder of how deeply interconnected our global economy has become, and how a single narrow passage can influence the lives of billions of people all around the world. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.